I am by training an archaeologist. My research focuses on the archaeology of Peru, especially the archaeology of a region called the North Coast of Peru. I received my bachelor's or BA degree from UCLA in anthropology, and then I received my PhD degree also in anthropology from the University of Michigan. In the United States, many archaeologists, especially those of us who work in Latin America, would have our degree in anthropology. I love reading, writing, and teaching about archaeology, so I guess this makes me an incorrigible archaeologist at heart. I really didn't expect to be teaching in international studies, to be honest. I've always thought of myself as someone teaching archaeology or anthropology. So I first started teaching for the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies at the University of Michigan in the summer of 2014. And in that spring semester of 2014, I created this class called Neoliberal Andes. And this class was really different from what I've taught before, since it dealt more with the contemporary issues of Peru relating to its economy, society, and politics, and especially some issues surrounding indigenous communities of Peru and other South American countries. And then in the winter of 2017, this class was cross-listed with international studies. The director of international studies, or PICS, the program in International Comparative Studies, Rob Franzese, he approached me and would like to cross-list that Neoliberal Andes class with international studies. And by that time, I've changed the name of the class to Indigenous Communities versus Globalization in South America. This is because very few students actually know what the term neoliberalism means. And for this 101 course, let me tell the students that you will learn what the term neoliberalism means. So that's how I began teaching international studies at the University of Michigan. And now in this semester, fall 2020, I am actually teaching International Studies 101 for the first time. And really, it's been quite challenging to switch to this online format of teaching. But then on the other hand, if things had been normal in a regular universe, I would be lecturing in front of some 200 students in person. And that idea also scares me to death. So, and here's something for you students out there. The next time we have regular in-person classes, please be attentive, focused, and kind to your professors, because public speaking is always so difficult and hard. A professor would have taught the same class 10, 20, 30 times, but each time that professor goes into that class, they would have butterflies in their stomach. Yeah, I get that question a lot. Peru is just such an interesting, fascinating, and wonderful country for an archaeologist to be working in. It's famous for the ancient culture of the Incas, for example, but not a lot of people know that there are many other older ancient cultures in Peru, in the Andes, besides the Incas. So it really has this richness of archaeological cultures and heritage and archaeological sites. Another interesting thing about Peru is that within Peru itself, it has so many different and diverse ecological and environmental zones, like the coastal desert, the mountains or the highlands of the Andes, and the tropical forest. So if you're an archaeologist working in Peru, it's like you're working in many different countries within that one country itself. You could be digging in the coastal desert. You could be excavating and working and doing survey in the mountains with the spectacular Andes in the background. Or you could decide to work and excavate in the hot tropical forest where it's very warm and humid. So Peru really is this rich country in environment and archaeological resources, and it's truly a spectacular country for an archaeologist to be working in. And the story of how I ended up working in Peru is this. When I was an undergraduate student at UCLA, I was attending a lecture at noon, and they called this the Brown Bag Lectures at the Coates Institute of Archaeology. I think at UCLA they're called Pizza Talk. I'm not so sure. So I was at one of these lectures, and the room in which the lecture took place was not that big. So that day, the lecture was full. None of the seats were available because there's so many people attending that lecture. So I ended up standing in the back next to the door. And at that time during the lecture, my professor at the time came in, Professor Charles Stanish. He tapped me on the shoulder and then told me to come out to the hallway, and he wanted to talk to me. So I followed him, and he told me about this archaeological project that I could participate in during the summertime. And that was a project run by his friend and colleague, Professor Carol Mackey. So that was how I ended up working on the north coast of Peru for my field work. And I must not forget to mention the kindness and generosity of the Peruvian people to invite us foreigners to work on their archaeological heritage. Professor Carol Mackey's project, I became good friends with the Peruvian archaeologists Enrique Zabaleta and Cesar Jauregui. During my dissertation field work, I owe so much to my host family in Pai, the Pasang family. They really took care of me as one of their own family, and I'm really grateful for that. Thinking back, there are many moments in my time in Peru where I remember committing cultural faux pas, and I'm just really thankful for my friends and families in Peru for tolerating my many shenanigans. So for that, I am eternally grateful for their friendship, kindness, and patience.